Hi everyone, welcome to how to crochet a cable weave stitch. This is actually quite a simple stitch, even though it's a bit tricky. Once you get the hang of it, this will be easy. It's just a bit tricky, but you get started, but then it's easy. So begin by crochet a chain that you can multiply by 4, and then you add an extra 2 because you need an extra 2 for the beginning and the end. So you're going to start with a chain 3, and you're going to end it with either a treble or a DC, that's up to you. And then for turning chain you need to add an extra 2. So I'm going to start by chaining 16, then I'm going to do a treble in a fourth chain from hook, 1 treble in each chain to end. I have 14 trebles all up, and we're going to begin by front post treble stitch. So first chain 3. Then you're going to skip the first 2 trebles, and you're going to do a front post treble in the next 2. So to do a front post treble, you're going to go behind the stitch because you're going to push the stitch forward. That's why it's called front post, because the stitch gets pushed forward. And you're going to complete the stitch. You're going to do another one in the next treble. This is why it has to be multiplied by 4, because you're actually working in a set of 4, and then you need an extra 2 for the chain 3, and you need an extra 1 for the ending. So that's your border. So anyway, now you've done 2 front post treble. You're going to turn, and you're going to actually go back and crochet around the trebles you skipped. You're going to start with the one furthest away, and you're going to do a front post treble around the first treble you skipped, and then the second. This is how you create the weaving pattern. It's actually you crossing back. You go back and you cross over with your stitches. You see, now those last stitches are crossed over. So that's how you do it. And this is how this stitch is so unique. So now you're going to skip the next 2 again and work in the next 2. So you skip 2, and then you do front post treble in the next 2 trebles. And you're going to turn, and you're going to work in the trebles you skipped. And you're going to go in front of the work when you go back. And you do a front post which pushes the stitch forward. And then you work in the second one. So you see, this is how you create the pattern. Now you repeat it again. You skip the next 2 trebles, and you do a front post in the next 2 trebles. And you're working this way until the end. Now you finish the second one. You're gonna go back and work in the first treble you skipped. You're going to go from the front, but you're going to insert it from the back. You see what I'm doing there? That actually pushes the stitch forward. And do the same. You're working from the front, but you insert it around the back. And now we come to the end of the row. You're just going to do a treble in the last stitch, and that's the turning chain. And you can, if you want, to just do a double crochet here, but I did a treble. It's up to you. Now we're going to do back post treble, and now we're going to work from the back as well. And when you do a back post treble, this stitch gets pushed to the back. So first chain 3. We're going to start with the closest 2 stitches to the hook, and they're hiding a little bit at the back. And now we're working the back post. As you can see, I go in through the front and they actually get pushed backwards that way. And these stitches are a little bit hard to find because they're hiding, but you can see here I am showing you where they are, and that's how you do it. And you start with those 2. So you don't start by skipping, because if you start by skipping on this row, you will end up with less and less stitches. Now, however, we are going to skip those 2. We're going to skip those 2 front post trebles, and we're going to work on those 2 that are hiding there. And we do a back post which pushes the front post treble to the back. So a back post pushes to the back and a front post pushes to the front. And row 3 is all back post. You're only going to do back post now. And then the second one is hiding even more. And you do a back post, treble, and then you're going to go and work on the front post trebles that you skipped, but you're going to go from the back. So you're not going to go in from the front, you're going to go from the back. That's why it's a little bit tricky. So this is perhaps the trickiest part of the whole thing. So you're going to actually go and you're going to fish it up from the back and do a back post from the back. So you see I go from behind and I do a back post from behind. And you just have to remember that everything you do now is for a purpose, because when you flip the work around, you will see that it has a weaving pattern. You just can't really see it because this is the wrong side, not the right side. But once you turn it, you will see. So now you are doing a back post and you're going in from the back. And there you go. So this row you won't really see how it's all gonna end up, but you will soon. So you're gonna skip those and you're gonna work in those 2, doing back post. Do back post trebles in those 2, and you're gonna go and do back post trebles in the front post trebles that you skipped. And there they are, and you're gonna work on them too now. Starting from the furthest one away. And when you flip it around, it's a little bit easier to see. It gets a bit fiddly, but be patient with this and it will be an amazing result in the end. And now the second one. And now to end it, what you're going to do, you're not going to skip the last 2 front post trebles. You can't skip them, because then you will just shorten your work each time you do row 3. So you're going to do a back post around the next 2. This is the last 2 front posts. So this is how you end the row, by doing a back post around the last 2 front post trebles. And then you are ready to go again. But first you have to end it then again also with a treble in the last stitch, which is the chain 3. So chain 3 acts as a treble. So now you have finished row 3, and this is the right side. So now this is the back side and this is the right side. So now you see you actually done the weaving pattern. So what you're going to do now is you're going to repeat row 2 and 3 until you have the desired length. So remember how you did row 2? Row 2 is pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy compared to row 3. Is a little bit more tricky because you have to go in from the back. But you start row 2 again. You're repeating row 2 with chain 3. And then remember you're going to skip those 2. You skip them, the 2 back post treble that are closest. And you're gonna closest to the crochet hook, and you're going to do front post trebles in the next 2 stitches. And then you're going to go from the front and do front post trebles around the skipped stitches. So you're pushing them forward. And you do the second one. And now you're going to skip the next 2 stitches and do front post in the next 2 stitches after the 2 stitches you skipped. So that's why it has to be, you're always working in 4, that's why it had to be multiplied by 4, and you can see now why that had to be that way. And you go back and you work on the skipped stitches, and now you always go in from the front. You don't work the back the way you did with the back post. So if you get confused between back post and front post, remember front post pushes the stitch forward and back post pushes the stitch to the back. So if the stitch you're doing when you're doing a front post is not pushing the stitch forward, you are not doing it correctly. And that's the last 4. And then we're going to go back and work on the skipped stitches. This is classed as an advanced stitch because it is a bit fiddly. However, once you understand the purpose of you go back and forwards to create this weaving pattern, it's pretty simple. And the fiddly bits, you get used to it and it gets easier and easier. So now we finish row 2, so we're repeating row 3 again. However, if you want to see row 3, you go back to, I think it's 419 minutes, and you can watch row 3 again, because all you're doing now is repeating row 2 and 3 until it has the desired length that you want. So this is a real short one, and I'll show you one that's a bit longer. That's one I worked on a bit longer, so if I wanted to make a headband, for example, I'd just keep going with it. So thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe.